Hello, good morning. Hi, Xanax Master. Hi, Xanax Mister. How are you doing today? How was your weekend? And you're in Hungary, and cheap food is really cheap there. Nice. Hello, Art. Art Winnin. How are you doing today? We have a Zilby today. I just upset him a little bit because he had some like really long thing sticking right next to his eye, and so I had to get it out, which he did not appreciate. But at least he's still hanging out with us. That's a good sign. All right, so let's see what we're up to today. Oh right. We're continuing on with Postgres sqlx, and this time we're going to be doing bulk inserts. Bofu to you. Hello. How are you doing today? Good morning. Weekend was too short, like always, but on the other hand, new week, new things to build. 50-50. I can see that. I can take that. Over here, it's like in this weird between time where it's cold and then it's warm, and then it's cold and it's warm, which is not always the funnest weather because you start up like super bundled up and then you end the day not bundled up. You figure you could watch some Rust. Never really got a feel for it. Yeah, we can take. Well, I mean, is there anything specific you're curious about with it? Because we can chat about it. We dabble in Rust a little bit here. All right, let's see. Not really, to be honest. To spend mainly spend my time in Rails Go, depending on the project. Yeah, so I haven't spent much time in either of those. Like I've built and deployed Rails projects before, but I've never really programmed one for it. And then same with Go. I've never really like worked in Go. I've watched people work in Go. It seems fine. All right, so sometimes we have a lot of things need to insert into database at the same time. Uh, Looping through the items and let's see. Oh yeah, don't worry about me. I'm prob what I like to do recently is just sort of like I do a little bit of this, keep an eye on chat, but then like go back and work on this again. Go for workers, perfect. Oh wait, I missed a bunch. I missed one thing. Good for prototyping, but higher end on it. Bottlenecks for my uses due to the GIL. What's GIL? Moving through the items. Let's see. Global interpreter lock. Oh, because it's using green threads, not system threads or whatever they're called. I think it's green threads and I think it's system threads. Okay, interesting. Yeah, Rust has it's very interesting. Rust does both. But I believe that async await. So if you use async await, I believe, and if somebody actually knows more and corrects me on it, but I vaguely remember reading that async await in Rust is green threads, and then you could also choose to use more system threads with like spawn thread. Imagine a big ass mutex sitting between the threads. Well, we could do that in Rust too, but because of the safety stuff, we have to do a little bit of stuff with that. All right. Looping through the items and saving one at a time is very slow. Postgres itself supports several ways to insert many items at the same time. Let's go over our options. Or I guess like in this lesson. I can hear Zilby. He's slightly snoring, which is always super cute. All right. Um Stacking, good morning. That is not sure. Okay, so am I wrong about the thread thing? Ninjatron, good morning. Okay, by the end of this lesson, you will be able to I guess like determine uh uh choose which um choose which bulk insert method you want to use. Look under flexible. A true async runtime is very hard to put the loop on multiple threads. I'm trying to use my PC mouse to go over and click that, and that's not that doesn't work. That's the wrong browser. I want this browser. All right. Asitsu, hello. You were waiting for the stream to start, but you just realized it was paused. I thought you couldn't pause it when it was not running. Or was it paused at the very end of the last stream and therefore oh, that would be interesting. Almost all async runtimes use the JavaScript loop. So if you know how that works, you understand what Tokyo is doing under the hood. Ah, okay. So for most of you who don't know this, which I guess like I have no idea how to ask. Maybe I don't know. Like just let me know if you do or don't know that. But for everybody else who's watching this asynchronously, because I have no idea, you're not going to be able to tell me. Uh, the the JavaScript runtime is like a lot of people get confused by it because they're like, oh, it's single threaded. How can it be fast? It's got to be slow because it's single threaded, right? The idea here, and then we can actually see this. Um, it's IO bound applications. So you have a single run, like running thread, and then as soon as you set something like go do something else, and that will take a while to run. So in this case, Tokyo, or in a JavaScript case, JavaScript says, okay, great, we're waiting for you. I'm going to go and I'm just going to throw you on the heap. and you're just going to sit there for a while. And it then continues running on. So it's no longer in a stack of like things to be called. It's off like running and like waiting for something to happen. And then it continues processing the code. And then like, if there's 20 things that go over, 20 things go over. Now, as soon as one of those things that are just sort of sitting there waiting get done, it then says, ooh, you're done. I will now add you back on to the stack to go. It doesn't like insert into the stack like to run immediately. It adds on to the stack. So if you're already doing a bunch of other stuff, it will wait until those are done before it runs. And that's the very basics of how this works. So it allows you to run really fast, as long, and you can run in parallel as long as you're waiting for a lot of things. But from what I understand, that's sort of how most threading systems work anyways. Because like even the CPU on like a system thread, unless it's like a different process or like a very specialized thing, it's the CPU isn't actually usually running both simultaneously. It's jumping back and forth between different ones. And maybe you have like a nice or something on it where it says, okay, only run this a little bit of time, but then go do something else. But those are more processed ways anyways. So yeah, I don't know. I think basically like threads end up being less real simultaneous than I think most people think. But for us, we use a lot of databases and that kind of stuff, so it doesn't really matter. It's very cheap. So thank you stacking for that. All right, let's continue with this. Okay, so choose which bulk insert method you want to use. And then yes, like that's pretty much it. We're just gonna go over all of the options. So okay. All right. So let's do. Is there anything else we want to do? You'll find a great talk that shows how the loop works by one of the best JavaScript talkers. Ooh, yeah, that'd be great. You can share that out. The way I used to teach it in class, and I think the way that really works is to do a step-by-step compile, sort of like a manually like popping and pushing things onto the stack, and using the whiteboard to like show things. And it's very, very, very easy to then see what's going on then. Is Tokyo reactor pattern style under the hood? I'm not familiar with the reactor pattern, or at least the name of the reactor pattern. I might be familiar with the pattern, but not the name. Ooh, reactor pattern. Light reading from me later. Uh-oh. Oh, okay, okay. So yeah, this is that style. An event loop running in a single threaded process, which demultiplexes. Oh, that's a fun word. Incoming requests and dispatches them to the request handler. Nice. Cool. Yeah, we can. I'll save this for later. We'll throw it into the stream description. There's a list of ways to use it in different languages. Oh, to use it in different languages. Isn't it also like automatically used? Node.js. Wait, that just took me to Node.js. That's not what I want. Okay, never mind. All right. You think this is the link? Well, let's find out. What the heck is the event loop anyway? 26 minutes. I mean, this sounds like it would be pretty good. It's from JSConf. Well, so fun fact, if you're using Node, therefore Chrome and the V8 engine, you are also running on multiple threads. It's they do that kind of thing behind the scenes, just behind the scenes. It's interesting. It doesn't always, like, not all of the JavaScript runtimes do that, but Chrome definitely does. So, and therefore Node as well. Like, for example, one of the things that runs in a separate thread in JavaScript in Chrome and Node ever since version 10, I think. Maybe it was like a 12 that they came out with it. The garbage collector runs in there. So if you had programs that were running slow because you were deleting lots of big stuff in like Node 8, and then you just upgraded to 12, instantaneously your code just got really fast. It's pretty good. I guess that in Tokyo you get more control over how many threads you can allocate. I think that is probably more of the true thing. The reactor is single threaded and can possibly run it in another thread if the process is parallel. Okay, cool. All right. Well, this is light watching for later too. Thank you, Stacking, for these. Let's go back to this. So these are fun. Last time we sort of ended the stream by figuring out some different methods that we can use for bulk inserting into into Postgres database, and I think that these are the four methods. Prepared and then transaction are actually very similar to each other. Um, Copy is actually really interesting, but completely unavailable if you're using something like sqlx. And then unnest seems to be is one of the easier ways to do it. But we'll go over all of them. John Who has a it is John Who, or is it Juhu? Has a great video on the Tokyo runtime. Did he do Tokyo or did he just do async await? I can't remember anymore. It was a while ago. All right, so let's do all right, so let's do maybe in alphabetical order. All right. Begin, insert, commit transaction, and then you'll be next. Stop. There we go. Okay. So begin, insert, so transactions is basically. Transactions. All right. So, Postgres and many databases have a concept of a transaction where if any command, any process, any operation during the transaction fails, it will automatically revert all of the changes that happened during the transaction. Yeah. Okay, John Who. That's what I figured, especially if you were on mobile. But yeah, John, uh, I he says it every time on his stream, and I can never actually properly pronounce his last name. I feel I just don't remember how to. Um, if you can understand 2% of what he's talking about, you'll have an amazing career ahead of you. So yeah, this is um John does. Oh, Rumil subscribed at tier 1. Thank you so much, Rumil. Hello. Good morning. How are you doing today? Thank you for the subscription. All right. So John has a lot of great videos. Probably the best series that he has, though, is the Crust of Rust series, which is essentially duplicated in his book. So if you've ever, what is it? He's got a book called like something. I forget the name of it, unfortunately. But does he have Crust of Rust? There it was. So all of these are great because he does really deep dives into things. So the specific one is async await, which this is like 2.5 hours of him manually implementing async await, sort of like what Tokyo does behind the scenes. Not like fully, not everything that Tokyo does. Deep dive is an understatement. I mean, that's pretty much as far like that's that's as much language as we have for like as for what he's doing. Explaining what's going on and how it's working behind the scenes, and then going over a little bit about like how Tokyo works. So it's both a very deep dive and also scratching the surface somehow at the exact same time. It's very fascinating. So if you're ever interested, this series is a great one to sort of go through. You will probably not be able to do more than one per day at most because it's super dense. All right. So Postgres and main databases have a concept of a transaction, where if any operation during the transaction fails, it will automatically revert all the changes that happened during the transaction. This is great for bulk inserts because if the I don't know, nth one fails, we often want to undo the previous inserts. Often. Sometimes we don't, and in that case, we don't want to do transactions. Okay, so we've got that. All right. In SQL, okay, so let's go find how to do transactions in Postgres. Postgres. Go. Why are I was so zoomed in that I thought I was on mobile. Okay, so I want documentation 16 transaction, which I think is something like begin do the thing commit transaction insert. finding stuff in the actual documentation sucks. I don't think it's set transaction. I don't think it's that it makes that much sense. Yes, that's like transaction mode. Yeah, it sets the characteristics of the current transaction. Whereas I think what we want is it's like this. Begin, you then do a bunch of stuff and then commit, I think. But okay, oh, maybe I just search for begin. Start a transaction block. Yeah, that's it. Why that didn't show up? It even has transaction in a word here. Their own SEO isn't that good. Begin initiates a transaction block. That is, all statements after begin command will be executed in a single transaction until explicit commit or rollback is given. By default, without begin, Postgres executes transmissions in auto commit mode, meaning that you just do it and then it just happens and it's done, and it only rollbacks that one thing if it failed, but everything else is sort of independent of each other. Statements are executed more quickly in a transaction block because transaction start commit requires significant CPU and disk activity. Execution of multiple statements inside a transaction is also useful to ensure consistency when making several related changes. Yeah, so if you've got like a lot of join tables and other things and you want to like insert them first or second, I guess, and you want to undo them all, that's where a transaction really comes into its own. So it's basically begin and commit. That's what you want. You could also use rollback. And then example, begin. That's great. Really? Okay. That's not helpful. That example was not helpful. Let's Anshul, hello. How are you doing today? You want to understand databases from scratch. Where do you begin? Oh, so I never really got super into databases. Just mostly just using them as a user. I don't know the best place to go, and I don't know the best place for that. I guess like maybe more clarifying question. When you say from scratch, do you mean like how databases work or like a super deep dive to understand how a specific database works? How they work in general. I've got to bet that there's probably some YouTube videos that or maybe even playlists of people like doing really deep dives into how something like that works. To use a tool, you don't need to know how they work under the hood. It can be used in something that can advance your career. So, are you sure you really need to know? Stacking also has a good point. Is like, is it what you really want? So maybe I'll ask the next question is, what are your goals? What will you be able to do with that information? Because also that might change like where to go for the information. Okay, so let's drop into here. We'll do a jump into here. All right, so to do a transaction, we have our table games still. Tea Kettle Drone, hello. How you doing today? Is Haskell worth learning? Well, just sort of like with the database question, the answer is it depends. Um, what's your goal? Okay, so if I do a begin, and then we do an insert into games, uh, name platform, values, and then I can do like one, ooh, one, two. Okay, Angelo, your goal is to be a great backend dev. So yeah, I don't think you really need to know how the databases themselves work. Some of that information will just sort of like leak out as you're using databases. It sounds to me like that might be more of a goal of how to deep dive in using databases, like features of specific databases that you can use. Like for example, you don't need to know how transactions work behind the scenes. But if you use transactions a lot and you have to sort of like debug little things that are happening with it, eventually you'll start getting an idea of what's really going on behind there. But there's no need to sort of learn that before diving in. But knowing how to use the transaction commands is really important if you want to be like a database admin or basically a great backend dev. You want to write your own database. See, that's the thing is like he's writing John Hu is writing his own database, which is great. I personally can't stand the idea of doing something like that. Okay. Um, what did I miss? Insert into games. Am I still in the begin thread? I am not. It kicked me out of everything, so I have to do that all again. So begin. Have I ever tried DuckDB? Your company announced today they want to move into DuckDB, so you'll try to learn. I've never heard of that before. Okay, so on name platform values, and so let's do I don't know, games. We've already done like Starfield and Baldur's Gate 3 and other things. Um, I go back and forth. Um, but Tea Kettle, did you ever have your goal? Because that will change what my answer would be for if Haskell is worth learning. Let's do that. One, two, close you, close you. Am I doing insert just completely wrong? Oh, I never did an insert inside of here. Okay. Well, let's try just normal insert then. Insert into games. Name platform. Demoroy, hello. How are you doing today? Values. One, two. Okay, so that works. So it doesn't like that inside of the begin statement. So what am I doing wrong with that? Okay, you want to work in a language that has its language features and design built on a formal mathematical theory because they tend to be terse, elegant, and complete. If you're amazing at math, then learn a pure functional language. They were made for math majors to get into computer science. Okay, yeah. So if it sounds to me like if you want to work like in that like mathematical theory type thing, then now I've never worked in Haskell, so I can't like promise that is the right language for that, but from what I've been told, I probably is. We're doing well. We can officially playlist in both directions between Spotify and Apple as of this morning. Nice. Oh, awesome. Congratulations on that. Yeah, transfer the playlist themselves. Well, that's really cool. I guess it shows that a lot of these systems have the same songs, so it almost doesn't matter which one you use. Okay, let's find out how. Begin is a Postgres language extension. It is equivalent to the SQL standard command start transaction whose reference page contains addition. Okay. So there's also start transaction. Start transaction. Commit. Will you tell me this? What kind of example is this? Oh, wait. I know what's the problem. I know what the problem is. Haha, I forgot. The semicolon. Okay, so then we could do an insert into. Now we're inside of this begin statement, right? Now notice that instead of like previously after begin without the semicolon, I had this dash because it was inside of a begin line. Now I'm inside of a transaction and it has a little asterisk here. So we're gonna do, let's do three, and everything can just be on Steam. That's fine. Steam. So I can do this like several times. And now, from what understanding, it's not actually doing the inserts yet. It is just marking that they're going to be done. And then when I'm done with it, we can commit. And then it actually does them at that point in time. Okay. So this is how it works. Okay. So in Postgres, the begin keyword so I guess let's go and find begin. Okay, so in Postgres, the begin command will begin a transaction block. Then every command before, well, until every command until a, what is it called? Until a commit, until a commit or rollback will be, now they're giving me feedback here as if it is going in right away. What I would love is if they actually told me if that's like real. Reference page. Incidentally, the begin keyword is used for a different purpose in embedded SQL. Okay, yeah, I'm not doing an embedded SQL here. Yeah, okay. So all statements after begin command will be executed in a single transaction, um, which also means that they're much faster. So uh I can't tell. Does anybody who knows this a little bit better or has used them a lot, is it actually doing the inserts at that time? Or because it sort of feels like it is doing them, it's just gonna be faster because it's not starting a new um transaction at this period. So then every command until a blah 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 will be part of the same transaction. This has a few benefits. So first, maybe I'll just do dashes. Well, first of all, um, if there is a failure in one of the commands, it Postgres will automatically roll back all commands in the transaction. Tea Kettle Drone. Actually, what advice do I have for getting a programming job? I don't have a degree, so I can't expect an amazing job. I went through wrestlings and played a bit with the Bevy framework for games. Learned basics of Haskell, but I think the job market for these languages are much smaller and probably require more education that you can get in a reasonable amount of time. You're also on Arch Linux. What language and job market do you suggest for a low to mid-level developer? It depends. So there's not very many Rust jobs. There's not very many Haskell jobs for the more sort of like junior side. Um, Mid-level, you might be able to find them, but they're again, there's not very many of them. So I would say it depends upon where you are, like physically in the world, like geographically, uh, or at least where you're trying to get a job, because like it actually changes. There's a culture of like which languages and which frameworks are more available. So if you just want a programming job, what you probably want to do is not choose a language to like sort of main first, but find out what programming languages they're using. You're in the UK and you also have a US citizenship. Okay, so I don't know about the UK. Maybe somebody else over there has some ideas. Um, Over here in US, it's sort of like a each like state I've noticed there's like different sort of cultures. So here in Colorado, there is a lot of Node.js and JavaScript. Like it's just like a huge amount of that. With then, of course, there's always a smattering of everything else in there too, but like just a huge amount of Node.js and JavaScript, uh, and specifically with React. In the Silicon Valley, it changes every like 5 to 10 years. The last big change that I heard about, which was really weird in my mind, was a resurgence of Ruby and Rails, which is very like it feels very odd because they usually like the new things, but there was a big resurgence of jobs in those technologies. Um, in uh in like very like corporate areas, you get like a lot of Angular. And there's always going to be PHP and other things. So basically, find some target companies, figure out what they use, learn that. That's my suggestion. That will help get a job, because that's the goal, right? The goal is to get a job, not necessarily to work in a specific language. Now, once you have a job, now is the time to learn the language you really want to work in, and then you can sort of like network your way to eventually having that job. That's my suggestion. Front end is better for newbie, and error cost is smaller comparing with back end. That's also very true. Well, full stack is really good. Like full stack is probably what you want to be starting to work on, because then that way you have that work experience for the back end when you want to switch over to it. So I would learn enough front end to be able to get a job. Because here's another really unfortunate fact, which is if you're gonna show off your stuff to like somebody to like help get a job, and you're like, hey, I built this project, like here's just a bunch of code, everyone's like, oh yeah, that's really interesting. And somebody else is like, here's this project I built off, here's what it looks like on the screen. It's like, ooh, that looks really good, you got a job. And it's like, you can't program, like I program better than you. It's like, doesn't matter, their program looked better than yours. And that is really important when convincing people that you know what you're talking about. So either learn enough front end to make your stuff look good, or find somebody who does front end and then trade with them. You can build their back ends for them, and they build front ends for you. One of those two. Supercuber, hello. How are you doing today? Also, just linking to your working project proves you know how to set up hosting and domain and stuff. Oh, yeah. Like a big thing, put your stuff on GitHub, create readmes for it, actually deploy it, like deploy it out to a server, have it running for real and doing something. Awesome. Well, let us know how it goes. The job search right now is really in a weird state. I don't know about the UK, but in America, the economy is strange. I know that first jobs we usually want to be in more techie companies because there's larger programming teams, but it feels like there's more jobs right now outside of tech, which may not be too surprising considering like all the layoffs that we just had in the tech industry. But I think that the economy is booming for non-tech and waning for tech. That being said, I am not an economist, so that is just my uneducated read on the world. Does that involve VPS for hosting? It could. You could set up a virtual private server. DigitalOcean is probably the easiest. Well, DigitalOcean and Linode are probably the two of the big name easiest ones to use. If you want somebody to impress people, use AWS or Google Cloud, or Azure. Like use one of the big names. You might be able to even like email Azure, like if you find certain places, or like tweet at them, and like they might even be able to give you free credits for hosting. They seem to do that a lot more than the other ones. Oh yeah, AWS has a free VPS for a year trial. They do. Cloudflare workers, I probably wouldn't dive into Cloudflare workers until you have a job. Unless you wanted your first job to be in like more networking or like lower level type stuff. But Cloudflare is pretty cool. I haven't done it myself. It's on my list of things that I would like to get to, but I have no idea if I will ever have the time. Also, hello, Sharper guy. All right. If there is a failure in one of the commands, Postgres will automatically roll back all the commands in the transaction. And then commands will run faster than normal, since beginning and ending a transaction is the slowest part of is the slowest part of the operation. So part of a normal operation. Okay, so it is actually going into the database, but if there's a problem, I could undo it. So here we've committed and these stay in the database. If I do this again, so we begin, I do 3 and then 4, and then I say, hey, let's can I think I could just do no, that's optional. Let's do that. Where it's like that will fail, right? Now I'm in error mode. Insert into games, name values. Oh, am I still in the transaction? So now I have to do a rollback. And then if we look at table games, we got the 1, 3, 4. So we got those in there, but it didn't try to put it like 3 didn't go in there again because I rolled back. Okay, so we have to roll back ourselves. So we have to take a look at the responses and deal with that. You want to update multiple values by ID, but before I need to check if IDs exist in database. If not, return error with non-existing IDs. It's 2 queries, select an update. Do I need to use a transaction in this case, or maybe it can be done in 1 query? Well, maybe. Well, I guess like need to do a query is probably you need to do a get. You just need to do a select and an update, right? If you have selects, I don't think use do select. Let's find out. Postgres does select use transaction? I would say that a select shouldn't use a transaction because it's not mutating the database. Yeah, so update, but that's not really showing selects. So I would say you don't need a transaction if you're just doing a a transaction also ensures no race conditions with other operations you think select should be affected. Oh, interesting. Of course, they're not showing any examples of this. That's great. Gotta love that. Let's do it. Let's try it. Begin. Select star from games. Okay, so you can do that. The thing is that I think that you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck instead of just doing a transaction itself. You probably want an index. Actually, you're using ID, right? If the ID is the primary key, it's already indexed for you. That's going to be super, super fast. So you should be able to check that and then go. If you have a whole bunch of updates to do, you can just check them with like in a list of SQL all in one go instead of like doing 20 different selects. But yeah, then you should be able to do the select first as like one command, find out if it's working, and then you do your update. Craft Code here. Any website for this upcoming course? Any waiting list? So I don't really have a waiting list type thing yet. The website where you can sort of like see my very slow progress is this one. You don't have to create an account. Um, but if you go to courses, you can sort of preview and you can take a look at some of these, which I could swear that I turned off. Yeah, I turned off some of the preview with these. I need to go like verify that I actually turned them all uh, off enough of them. So I think I like continue to allow it in, which I didn't want to. Maybe I forgot to save in the database. So I'll have to take a look at that later today. But yeah, there's no waiting list yet. I guess like the waiting. What I'm probably gonna do is run a small version of the course. So instead of for Axum, we're gonna do it for sqlx. And it'll be look more of like a weekend workshop or 2-day workshop type thing instead of like a 2 or 3 week long thing. And that will let me get like figure out that thing. It'll be significantly cheaper than like the full Axum, which would also include sqlx. So that's probably my goal now. And so right now we've got like connections, we've got basic CRUD, we're gonna do bulk insert, and then I want to do joins, and then maybe we'll look at anything else we need, and then that might be it. So yeah, that's the goal. If you select to check that the ID exists and then the ID is removed from another connection and then you update. Oh, yeah. That could be bad. So yeah, I guess like doing as part of a transaction is probably best, but still just do a you have to do a select. Like I don't think there's a way for you to say like 1, 2, do it at the same time. I think you have to do like select and then go ahead and like do the update after that. Um that being said, if you attempt to update something, so I'm in a transaction right now, right? So if I do update updates games set set name to be equal to updated where ID is, we don't have a 10, right? So let's do where ID is equal to 10. This should fail, right? Oh no, here. I got an update 0. So you could also just not do the select and then just do the update. And then it's like, ooh, it didn't exist. Dottie, hello. The update would fail because you're not doing an insert. Yeah, you would probably want to do something like an upsert, which I don't think that is there an upsert in Postgres? I don't think there is, right? I've always just manually implemented an upsert before, which is, oh look, it didn't do anything. Okay, I guess I'll do an insert now. Ooh, yeah. Let's see. Can I do a okay, updates that. Okay, let's also updated where it's row number 9, where it's ID 9. Returning ID, commit. So if you do this, for each of these commands, you'll get back whether or not it was done. So you can sort of do this from the opposite way. So instead of get a list of things that don't exist, get a list of ones that do exist, and then filter the ones that don't exist from that list. Interesting, at least in SQLite, if you're in the middle of a transaction, then trying to mutate from another connection gives an error database is locked. Thought it would queue the operation. It's oh, interesting. It's like part of the SQLite is like kind of weird. If you update run row, it'll be an error. If multiple, some would be updated, some not, right? Here, let's if I commit 9 is updated, right? So like this is technically not an error. This was successful. It successfully updated nothing. Therefore, when I committed, it did the update. Okay, so this has a few benefits. So this is not true. So let's remove that. So in a transaction, commands will run faster than normal since beginning and ending transaction is the slowest part of a normal operation. Let's here's how a transaction looks in normal. Okay, let's code up and insert. Let's insert two things with transactions with a insert two things into the games table with a transaction. Okay, so we've got you down. Let's create. I want to move you up there like that. Let's go to cache. Okay, so let's go to queries and we'll create one here. I mean, try to returning ID from an update values partial update logic is not correct, you think? Try to returning ID from update values partial update logic is not correct. Well, like when I updated, like with this one, I'm only updating name. I didn't update platform, and I got the 9 back. So I guess I'm not sure I fully understand the question or statement. Okay, so let's do a pub async function bulk insert with transaction. So we'll take in our pool. We'll take in our games, which is going to be a vec of game. Do you mean if you're updating to the same value, then it doesn't return it? I guess I need a so given the database, the table that we're working with here, can you write like a quick a query that would cause the problem you're afraid of happening, and we can try it out? Okay, so pool games. Let's do a result of we could do full games, right? So it's gonna be another vec game. Okay, so I want to do a transaction, right? So right off the bat. Oh, you want to roll back. If you want to update 2 roles and only one can update, then don't up. That's the rollback then. Yeah. That's the rollback then. So, and then in code, we can catch that here. So let's see what we can do here. Bug. Yeah, so you can even see the difference between request and return and send on the air. Yes, that's a really nice thing, is that you can control when to do a rollback by just ending the transaction with a rollback or ending it with a commit, and that's it. That's all you need to work on. Okay, so let's do, what are we doing? We're gonna do a sqlx. So we're gonna start with a query, and we're just gonna say begin, like that. So very, very basic and empty. We don't even care about the return of this because it doesn't really matter, right? So we're gonna do a execute because we don't care about this. Hand it the pool. We can await and question mark. So we begin the transaction. So begin the transaction. Everything after this is part of the transaction, and a rollback will undo them all. Now, later on, we can do an end the transaction, right? So end the transaction, and I keep all the changes, keep all the inserts that we've done. So this is going to be sqlx, do another query, and we're going to commit. Execute, hand it the pool, await, and question mark. And then we'll have an okay, like that. So interesting. I get, oh, right, because it's, yeah. I'm like, I keep on thinking, I'm getting SQL highlighting, but I'm not. It's not really SQL highlighting. Okay, so next up, we want to insert, so like I guess like we want to at this point in time loop through. So we're gonna do a for loop through. So for game in games, that gives us the full game. I want to attempt to do the insert. So let new game ID Now I suppose we could clone all the games up here. So we can do games to insert. Oh, how do I want to do this? If I make you mutable, I then want to make this a mutable reference to the games. Or it'd be better for me to just say, let's do an iter mute. So we have a mutable reference to a game now. Let new game ID is going to be equal to, we're going to do a query. sqlx query insert into games platform no name platform values it's gonna be $1 $2 and then that's gonna be a game dot name game dot platform. We are going to fetch 1 and the pool await question mark u. Okay, so that gives me a PG row here. Oh, right, and I want to return. Okay, so returning ID. Okay, so that gives me a record now. Okay. Is there a chance this executes each statement on different connections from the pool and messes up? I don't believe so, but maybe it could. It might. That's a good question. Is there a way to tell it? Oh, your current mechanism will be using different transactions. Oh, that sucks. Because this makes it really easy to use loops, right? I don't have to like create a bunch of transactions, like a bunch of things and put it all together. Which would be really nice to be able to do, but okay, fine. Oh, you think sqlx connection begin should be the preferred way? Okay, let's go look at the documentation. sqlx. Oh, I probably just want to go to the real docs. Let's see. Do you have a begin? Begin a new transaction. Begin a new transaction or establish a save point within the active transaction. Returns a transaction for controlling and... Oh, okay. This is probably what I want then. Was there actually... Execute the function inside of a transaction... Oh, so then I can do transaction from that, and then get them all that way. It's within a closure though, which makes what I was going to try to do a lot harder, which kind of sucks. Oh, and you have a Stack Overflow link. Let's take a look at that. Okay. How to build and commit a multi-query transaction in sqlx. There's an example usage in a test. In the function, it can work with transactions. The usage appears to be, okay, so we begin, await. Wait a second. Begin. Returns a transaction. Okay. Begin and await. Okay, so then we do our query, and then when we bind, it's this thing here. That's how we do it. Okay, so that's not too hard. So connection, which is really our pool.begin. So this is not how to do it. Instead, we want to do something like let transaction equals pool.begin, await and question mark, which means down here we have to end it that way too. So I haven't even looked at how to do that one, but I'm gonna assume that it's either I use transaction to end it or I use a pool to end it. Yeah, so here, commit. Oh, wait, do that. Okay, so there you go. Happy with that. Okay, so now I can do the same thing. Thank you for that. All right, so now we have 4 games. Then insert into games, returning the ID. Okay, so we have this. Fetch 1. So that gives me a new game ID. I can then stuff that inside of the game. Rollback is called on drop if the transaction is still in progress. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Oh, yeah, you're right. Fetch 1. Change this to the new mutable reference to a transaction. Thank you. Doesn't like that? When do you like that? The treat bound mutable reference to transaction is not satisfied. I no longer need the result. What am I doing with the future output result? Wait, what am I missing? I don't think you could do it on getting a result fetch. It should be replaced with execute. Oh no. I have to use execute? Well, no, I wanted the ID. I wanted the ID back. But I guess that's not doing hold on. Is there something here that we get back? Fuck too. Hello. Also, thank you so much for the Prime subscription. Thank you. How's your day going? Let committed. Let's do commit equals that. Suffice. If I do execute, wait, it's not execute. It's yeah, it is execute. What am I doing wrong? Okay, sqlx query into that. Okay, hold on. Oh, there's no execute anymore. Ooh, okay. Another Stack Overflow. You can't do returning and transaction easily. Oh no. Okay, that sucks. Which is strange because in a normal SQL you can. Um, what am I? That browser. One way to use a data modifying CTE and pack the two inserts into one command. Requires Postgres 9 or later. So insert into that. You do the thing. Insert. Oh, with X as. Oh, interesting. So I'm using the query macro. Basically, their solution is to not use a transaction, but to do it all at once, which is, I mean, kind of the point of, yeah. I mean, I guess technically that does bulk inserts, but I don't want try map. So if I do this, now I have fetch, fetch many, fetch all, fetch one, fetch optional. Now the executor, what if I give it ownership of it? Yeah, so once actually the pool. Oh, can I call it with a mutable reference to a destructured transaction? Let's try it. Oh, maybe. Okay, and then we're returning the games. Oh no. Cannot borrow trans. Oh, it's not declared as mutable. Okay, we can fix that. Ooh, okay. Okay. All right, you found an issue that talked about this. It's not satisfied. Okay, so looks like they was doing exactly what we were trying to do. The executor impulse for transaction and pull connection have been deleted because they cannot exist in the new crate architecture without rewriting the executor trait entirely. To fix this breakage, simply add a dereference where an impl executor is expected as they both dereference. Okay, cool. That works. All right. Thank you for that, Esetsu. That's awesome. So we now have this game. We've inserted it. We have the record. And so that way, before we undo the loop, we can say game.id is equal to a sum new game.id.id and all that. Okay. So then we go through everything and it does all the things. Is it not correct to use fetch one? What should I be using instead? I want to make sure like I get that return back. Fetch all, even though it's only one thing that would ever go. I could do that. So new game.id, it should be because there's only a single insert into this. Um, well, this will make it an array of the single thing that I'm getting, which in this case is the single item. So then I have to get just the first one. So then that would be something like that. Whereas the other way with fetch one, it just have the idea on its own. Yeah. We're only inserting a single thing here. So therefore I can do fetch one. And then it'll be fine. Because I'm not doing a multiple inserts all at once. So okay, we do that. That updates the game. We go through here. We then commit. There is no committed out here. So you're fine. And then we return okay. Now, problem. So let's go through. Okay, so we want to loop through all of the games and insert them one at a time. The inserts will be faster because they I probably just want to, because they are in a transaction. Okay. Now, if there's a problem with this, what do we want to do? I probably want a flag to know that things did or did not go well, right? So if the insert fails, how would I know? It would be this question mark, right? So I probably don't actually want to question mark this one, because if it fails, I want to call rollback on this entire thing. So let's create a flag. So all successful equals, so we're going to start with false. Actually, we're going to start with true. Other way around. We're going to start with true. We are going to match this. I don't need that. Okay, so if it's okay, we get oh, I probably do want this. So I want the let. Ooh, wait. I did this all wrong. A new game ID equals I match here. There we go. Put it there. We're gonna do the record is here. We're gonna turn a record.id. So that makes it easier for that. So then you are just literally like that. And then if we have an error, which is not like that, it's error like that. Okay, so it would be sqlx error row not found. Wait, really? Would it really be row not found and an insert? No, wasn't that thing? Oh, it's down. That's where it is. Yeah. So if I'm doing an insert, so if I do like begin, we want to do an insert into games, and so if I completely fail and we have a problem here, It just isn't a full error. It's just a full error. And then I can do a rollback. Like that. Update. Yeah, you're right. With update, it would be 0 coming back. And we have to do a count. Okay, so an error. So a couple things here. So first of all, we want to set the all successful to be false. So let's do all successful equals false. If we're going to do rollback, we might as well break out of here. And then it's probably also a good idea to just do a e print line. Error inserting game. Oh, I could just do that. Error like that. Vampire, hello. The only way this can fail is if the values are too long to insert into a field, or if you have triggers constraint that they fail because of X reasons. Also, this is the first time you see Rust. Interesting language. Well, thank you. Yeah, generally speaking, you shouldn't be getting failures like this, but every once in a while you could. Like, I think also, like in this case, it's a string. Almost anything can become a string. If it was like numbers though, or dates or something else, I could definitely see it causing errors if you have wrong types that you're trying to go in. That being said, sqlx should figure that out. So you'd have to like purposely mess with it to say like, hey, yeah, you're totally a string, and then pass it something else. So it's a lot harder to get an error, definitely, but it's still possible. Okay, so all successful equals false. What are you upset about? Yes, I know it's not red. Don't worry about it. It'll be red down here. So I break out of there. So we have the game. So instead of commit transaction here, so we want to do an if all successful. So if not all successful, then I want to, we're going to do a transaction dot rollback. We'll wait and question mark u. Else we're going to do this one. I can't do alt up. That's not how it works. It's the first time in a while that I've done a VS Code shortcut here. Okay, so that one is keep all, that one, and this is oh no, oh no, oh no, there was a problem. Let's roll back all the inserts and exit. Just roll back all the inserts. Oh, your background is in big data for a big bank. You love SQL. So I am in like more software development, so like less SQL and like not super big data. So I've never had to work in that field. So most of my stuff with SQL has actually been smaller, faster things. That's it. So that sounds really fun. And then okay, we're done. Now we could like choose like also return an error here if we want to. But I guess like in this case, I'm not going to. All right, let's see. Any more things? Let's create a flag to track if all of the inserts worked fine. Okay, so we do that, all successful. We're gonna loop through all the games, insert them one at a time. The inserts will be much faster because we're in a transaction. We get the ID back. We're matching, so we're handling the error here in the case, since if there is a problem, problem. We want to roll back the changes at the end of the function. Yeah, in the real world, you would also be sanitizing your input before you even try and touch DB. That's very true. Like, you should probably know if it's going to succeed beforehand. That being said, there's a really good statement in the practical developer? No, pragmatic programmer book, which basically says the impossible happens unfortunately often in programming. So therefore, we should probably code for both cases. Sanitize the inputs and handle the when it screws up. You can do that by forcing your data types. I know on PHP it can be done, but yes, I can. We did that before, so I can come in here and say, okay, insert into games. These are both strings here, so no matter what I put, well, I shouldn't say no matter what I put, but oftentimes it'll just work. But I could do something like, what's a data type that would really screw up if it was like trying to go into a string? Like, I can't do number or int. I can do like timestamp. That may or may not work. But yeah, I could definitely do something like that. Wait, it might be over here. It might be this one. Yeah, okay. String is like compatible with everything, it feels like. Maybe some blob types or binary or something like that. That might not work. But okay, so here we go. Got you all going. Then okay, great, it's successful. We have it. And then we break out. Okay, so then we handle the thing. All right. It's so much. Oh, I should probably test this to make sure it works. All right, let's head over to main. All right, so we have game. We have game 2. Okay, we're gonna do Starfield and Baldur's Gate 3 again. So instead of that, sure, let's do insert. What is it, like a bulk insert? Queries. Bulk insert with transaction. We hand it a reference to the pool, and then we also we hand it the games. There's wait. What am I doing? Stop. Okay. Expect error inserting multiple games in one transaction. Okay, there we go with that. What are you upset about? Can I find? Okay, so apparently it's not called games. What did I do? Apparently I don't actually have a vector of games. Let's fix that. Create a vector right here. We have game, and game 2. Okay, so we do that, and then I don't actually have a D. Well, actually, we can get the games out. So that games equals to that, and then we can debug out. So save you. Let's run this and see how it goes. Okay, so if I do cargo run, there we go. We've reinserted Starfield and Baldur's Gate. So if we come down here, look at table games again, there they are at the very end. So we did a bulk insert using transactions. Vampire, have you, is it mostly sqlx? MySQL that you use, or do you also know a lot about Postgres? Yes, Kukma, we can use string concat with dollar increments to bind the values to a query and then do one query instead of multiple. Absolutely, we could do that. Um, I and then Vampire, you might be able to help like answer this for me. Um, if I were to like do that, normally that's not the best idea, right? To like just create like a single mega insert uh in like a single string to send in. You want to use something separately so you can catch. Well, I want to get the IDs out. I don't know. Okay, use Microsoft SQL. Okay. I've never used Microsoft SQL before. Enterprise level stuff. And MySQL is not part of that. That's true. Although, isn't MySQL is like based on Oracle SQL, which is mega, 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 mega enterprisey. Okay, so this is a lot to go in here. Let's insert. Um, Here's how to create a bulk insert function using a transaction. Yes, we use Oracle, but they are production, so we replicate data to run our queries. Yeah, I've never used those databases. I just look how expensive they are, and I always work for startups. We couldn't even come close to affording them. They would like literally destroy the startup in less than a year. All right. Unfortunately, so let's do description. So description of what we did goes here. Okay. I am unfortunately it's 8:50 and I have stand up with my day job in 10 minutes, which means I have to get ready for that. So we're used to work for them and it was a lot. I've never I know somebody who works at Oracle. At home, you use SQLite, MySQL since you run anything in containers, and you're a Linux guy outside of work. Yeah, so I use MySQL. We have MySQL and Postgres at my day job, so we use both. And then I often just use Postgres inside of containers, just because I like it. You were acquired by Oracle. Oh, those are that could either be really good or really bad. It's usually sorry about that. Usually you don't get acquisitions that are like just like boring. Okay. I am not seeing anybody that I'm following that's live right now. So let's actually not live right now, not on a big break. So I'm just gonna go ahead and end the stream. I try to put on a stream schedule this morning during the beginning thing, and I got the file over, but it didn't load up properly, which I thought was really weird. But the plan is that I'll be streaming this week at 2:30 p.m. As opposed to last time, which was after dinner. So I'm going to be trying before dinner streams. So On Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week, I'll be going 2:30 to 5, and then Tuesday 2:30 to 4 because I have something going on at 4 p.m. So that's the plan. I'll be back today in like I don't know, 5, 6 hours or however long that is until 2 p.m. So with that, have a great day, everyone. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me, and I will see you all next time. Bye.